Hello, I'm Wendy Rose Rosie Isbell with the first of two talks about the summer flowers from the Christchurch flower essences. The flower essences are used to help transform emotions, attitudes and patterns of behaviour which hinder the person's full development or potential. In the Christchurch flower essences, the spring flowers are used for emotional growth and transformation, and the summer flowers are more for spiritual growth and transformation. First, about indications for spiritual growth. Whereas for the spring flowers, the indications have a negative condition treated, then a transformative key and a positive outcome, for the summer flowers there is no negative condition to treat. So the indications usually include a statement about the stage of spiritual growth that the flower essence represents, and then a more general statement about the result or outcome of that stage. Hence, bleeding heart is for releasing of emotional attachment and letting go of the past so that one is no longer attached at an emotional level to people, events, experiences and outcomes. The more general statement for this essence assists one to stay neutral, remain open and loving, allow external events to flow and maintain a centre of peace, harmony and joy. You can also see from this indication that there is information about the spiritual growth in general, even if you do not wish to take this particular flower essence. The issue may be more acute if someone is held back by emotional attachment or attachment to the past, but most people would like to learn to become more neutral and centered with inner peace, harmony and joy. The bleeding heart flower essence is also an example of how the indications for the Christchurch flower essences are more on a spiritual plane than was for the case for some of the earlier flower essences. For example, in an earlier version of the bleeding heart from America was for releasing emotional attachments, letting love exist in freedom, for those who are overly identified, clinging and possessive with those they love, helpful when experiencing the breakup of a relationship. The Christchurch flower essence does encompass all of these issues, but goes further to also include learning from the situation, growing further because of it, and then using what you have learnt to further your own spiritual growth. Now about opening and unfolding. Whereas the spring flowers begin with anemone for beginning to open and unfold, and azalea for discovering and expressing one's wholeness, the summer flowers also have a gradual progression of states of consciousness. So the first summer flower is arum lily for an unfolding of one's self-worth so that one can discover one's inner truth and honour one's deepest feelings. It can be used to enable one to stand by one's deepest truth and validate one's own beliefs and experiences, acting with dignity and power. Among the next few summer flowers are Busy Lizzie, for when one has made a quantum leap in personal development and is impatient to bring one's personality, body, emotions and attitudes up to the same level. And Buttercup, for knowing the true value of one's gifts and accepting who one really is, so that one can appreciate, value and support oneself. These can lead to the situation where one can work with situations as energy and live in a higher flow, moving forwards easily and effortlessly while asserting one's power and self-warmth with strength, humility and compassion. Now about spiritual growth. Many of these flower essences are for aspects of spiritual growth that are common to many meditation disciplines, such as Canterbury Bells, to help one become a clear channel and connect with a high source of guidance, clarity and direction. And Dogwood, for opening the heart centre and an expansion of love and healing, both for oneself and others, to experience an enhanced ability for compassion and forgiveness, and start to awaken one's inner healer. Also, Forget-Me-Not, to give one the courage to deal with subpersonalities that need to be brought to a high level of evolution, for the strength to acknowledge the part of oneself that seems to resist goals, resolutions and commitments, and the guidance to evolve, love and transform them. Now about high states of consciousness. Moving on in the summer flowers, There are a number of flower essences that are related to the high states of consciousness that can be reached in meditative states. So hollyhock is to help center consciousness in the higher dimensions of the soul, using one's awareness to sense reality at other levels beyond ordinary life, so that one can have an expanded sense of oneness with all of life. Lavender is for the ability to sense subtle energies from a cocoon of harmonized energy around the body, and ranunculus is for observing the continual unfolding of energy as if of a thousand-petaled lotus, and using this experience as a base on which to play in infinity. Sunflower goes further to connect oneself directly to the light and to regulate, filter, and integrate the light that is brought in, becoming an open and radiating source of light for oneself and one's environment. Now, about world service. There is also a recurring theme of world service, starting with the yellow hoop petticoat and the spring flowers, for when the next stage of spiritual growth is to transmit light and radiance out into the world to awaken others. This continues into the summer flowers, with larkspur, to accept one's role as a teacher, leader, and healer, and help in reaching upwards to become a source of light, awakening, and higher consciousness. And wallflower develops quite an expanded meaning to its usual social association, for discovering one's life purpose, looking at life from a higher perspective, and discovering more about one's path and the mission one came to accomplish.